Club 602, yelling and screaming. This is our NFL show. I am joined by my partner, Sean KS Flash. What's up, Sean?
What's up? How's it going?
Good, man. Week 15. I feel like the season just started, and damn, we are almost done.
You are not wrong. Not gonna lie. I look at the beginning of football season. I'm like, we have so much time. We got so much football to watch. Midway through December, I'm like, shit. We got like only a couple weeks left. I mean, playoffs is right around the corner, and you got the Super Bowl, and then that's it. Then we go cold turkey for a while.
Well, USFL, UFL, whatever the hell it's called now, spring ball.
There's spring ball, but I mean, I got to get into that now. Last season was the inaugural of the new version of whatever this is. I mean,
Yep.
I can't. I'm sorry, but every single year it either exists or it doesn't exist, and it exists in a different format. So I'm gonna need a little more consistency from this league before I decide to jump into it and dive in and put my efforts into it. I'd rather watch the Legends Football League or the Lingerie Football League or whatever it's called nowadays. Again, another league that it either exists or it doesn't exist. But at least that one has been out for a while, just changed names a bunch of times.
Well, when your owners are all ducking lawsuits, you have to change your league operating name from time to time to keep everyone safe.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, filing for bankruptcy seems like the way to go. So let's just keep switching entities, and hopefully things will work out.
Week 14 was a hot week. Why don't we keep some of that heat rolling? And instead of talking about the games right away, let's get yelling and screaming.
Okay. Okay. What do you got for me?
Patrick Mahomes is the most overrated quarterback of all time to win 3 Super Bowls.
I disagree. um,
Please
I
say
can't.
more.
I disagree. I disagree. And I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out how to really put this because realistically, offensively, in those 3 Super Bowls, even though his team was a good defensive team, he still did what he needed to do on offense to get them there. And in those seasons, he put up very, very good offensive numbers. So I wouldn't necessarily say that. But again, I'm trying to think of other quarterbacks who won 3 Super Bowls to compare him to. I could definitely pull out 3 of Tom Brady's Super Bowls and say that he didn't deserve to win those. I could probably put Aikman up there in one of those conversations about some Super Bowl wins. He's only got 2. Yeah, I mean, God,
Well,
I
and
guess
that's
it's
why I framed it the way I did. It was mostly
fair
in
enough.
jest. The most
Fair
overrated
enough.
quarterback in the NFL is Dak Prescott because a blind and deaf giraffe very clearly could step into this Cowboys offense and get the same results out of what is a really, really bad Cowboys team.
I mean, when Dak's got a great offense, all of his weapons, and he's healthy, and the team's healthy, and he's got a great defense, then yeah, he looks really good. Anything other than that, and he looks mediocre to below mediocre. And all I can think about is that stupid hip twitch thingy that he's doing. That's all I can think of. I'm like, that really didn't help you out too much, now did it?
If I'm watching a Cowboys game and I cannot differentiate with squinted eyes between Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott, it means Dak Prescott is overpaid no matter what he is being paid.
You're not wrong, at least given the context of where Dak Prescott is getting paid now. I'm sure if we paid Dak Prescott uh, Aiden O'Connell money, he'd probably be a little more manageable. But also at that point, you'd also be able to put a lot more healthy guys on that offensive line, pick an actual running back instead of getting Zeke back for no fucking reason. Actually have some guys on defense who are going to show up. Right now, I know they had injuries this season, but you still got to play football. You got to play with who you got, and teams like the Rams are doing whatever they can with all their injuries. Teams like the Niners are doing whatever they can with all their injuries. There's plenty of teams with a lot of injuries. So no excuses. I don't want to hear it. And realistically, you shouldn't have paid those guys nearly as much money as you did. They didn't deserve it. I hate when these guys come off of a good season, not an MVP season, but a good season, and they get paid these fat checks. In my opinion, Trevor Lawrence is the most overrated quarterback, and the reason why is because Dak Prescott at least had a 12-win season.
So
Trevor
speaking of
Lawrence,
overrated
never.
quarterbacks, Sean, who do you have leading the MVP race?
You know what? In all honesty, after that performance in a losing endeavor, I might have to give it to Josh Allen. He did whatever he could to will that team to 42 points in a losing bout. Uh, Realistically, I like to see guys take over games and win. And right now, there is nobody in the NFL who's better in the second half or fourth quarter of any football game than Saquon Barkley. It doesn't matter where he could have 35 yards in the first three quarters and somehow end up with 150 rushing yards and one or two touchdowns. But more importantly, he's doing it in decisive moments in the game where the Eagles need to be able to maintain possession, to be able to get the first downs and move the ball and run some clock down. He's just the workhorse at this point, and not only that, but that offense is just clicking because once you've got him moving, then everybody's got to pay attention to what's happening at the line, and then suddenly, boom, you take those receivers and that tight end, and you get them the ball down the field, and now you've got to score. You get in close, boom, you got the tush push going. So, I mean, it really, realistically for me, I liked Saquon and what he's doing. I think as far as impact in the game, taking the Eagles from a team that was really good, and also they had running back by committee last year, to being a great team, powerhouse, should be able to win a Super Bowl, potentially make it to the Super Bowl this year. I think that's who I got. Realistically, though, you can't really fault Jared Goff. I don't know how people are sleeping on him, because even though they do have a phenomenal offensive line, their defense plays well. They find ways to win games, and they find ways to win games even when they're down later in the games. And so, you definitely want to give him. I want to give him some respect as well. And you can say what you want, but in the one game that he really threw terribly, looking at his statistics and his interception rate is really indicative of one game that he threw 5 picks. He still won that game. Still won that game. So like that was one game. If you take away that one game, his numbers are phenomenal. And then I feel sad because Joe Burrow is the MVP that never will be, because there's no way that you could win anything when your team gives up 40 points in these games that you're putting up 30 points. Throws for 359, 360-ish and 3 touchdowns, and barely, not really, and barely, like, come on now. This guy should be in that conversation if his defense wasn't so terrible. Barely sneaking away with the win against the Cowboys. Crazy.
I think it's a 2-horse race now, and it has been for a couple of weeks. If the Bills find a way to win that game, it's over. Josh Allen's the MVP. The discussion's done. Doesn't matter, right? 6 total touchdowns. He had 500 all-purpose yards. You come back from down. You drive your team down the field. You win the game. But they didn't win. And so I think now all Saquon and the Eagles have to do is what they're supposed to do. Win the division. Go to the playoffs. Saquon's numbers are going to speak for themselves. I mean, he's having a phenomenal year, MVP or not. Saquon's the best running back in the league. So I think now they're in the driver's seat. All they have to do is continue performing, and Saquon's the MVP.
And not only that,
had somehow gotten that win, that would have been it. That would have been it, because the NFL loves quarterbacks. It's all about the quarterbacks. It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. Quarterbacks are all that matters, because all the rules just protect the crappy quarterbacks. But losing that game, I think it's wide open now for Saquon and the Eagles to just continue doing what they're doing. And what that is being a phenomenal running back and being a phenomenal football team. And I think they're capable of that. Now, this week, we'll talk about it in a little bit. This week might be tough, but I think Saquon's the MVP at this point.
I definitely see that too. And the only reason why I don't say that winning that game would have solidified it for Josh Allen is because he's got the Lions coming up, and if he loses that game, it's still the same situation where it's like, you're supposed to be that top tier quarterback. You're supposed to be that guy, and you can't win out against some of these other teams that are also in that elite status. Right now, the Lions are the team. The Lions and the Eagles are the teams to beat in the NFC. If Josh Allen can beat the Lions this week in a convincing win, and Saquon just has an average game, which he hasn't had really an average game in forever, then that keeps them really tight in that race. But I think it's just crazy that he's putting up these numbers. He's already the Eagles' leading rusher. He's had the best running back season of any running back for the Eagles franchise, and he's only going to have a few. He's going to have a few more games to really bolster that. Depending on how well he does in these last couple of games, I mean, the Eagles' schedule is realistically one that he can get some yards, closing out the season. He's got the Giants coming up. The Commanders don't have the best defense. Pittsburgh's got a better defense, but Dallas's defense is trash. So I'm looking at he can put up at least 150 yards in 3 of these 4 games. That puts him, that for me puts him squarely in the driver's seat. I think the Eagles game against Pittsburgh, and this week against Pittsburgh for the Eagles, and this week against the Lions will basically be my deciding factor on who's the MVP. Because the rest of the games for the rest of the season for both of these teams should be cakewalks, with the exception of the Commanders, which is a solid team, again, divisional game, but they should be the only real competition for the Eagles.
Well, let's jump into week 15, Thursday night football, Rams and the 49ers. Man, this Rams team can put some numbers up. 49ers beat the ever-living crap out of a hapless Bears team. That doesn't really tell me much. 49ers still dealing with a ton of injuries. It's just next man up. Garendo gets hurt. Like, they can pull somebody off the street. They're going to have a 100-yard game. But the question is, can you score 40 hang with the Rams?
I don't think realistically that this game is going to be anywhere near as high flying as these teams had in this past week. I think that they're going to, it's really for me going to come down to how well the 2 running backs can do. I know the receiver core for the Niners is still, not where they need to be. And the Rams look like they're getting healthier, and their offense looks like it's starting to click right now. They're finally above 500, which is good for them. But this is the divisional game, and I feel like even though it's a home game for the Niners, the Rams feel like they're in a really good position right now to take this division and just really be that team that's going to be the one that's going to stand out in that division. So I would pick the Rams in this game based on how well they played this past week, but I don't expect them to put up 44 against this Niners defense, which has been one of their saving graces in the past few years, but in this season as well, when their offense didn't perform as well.
Yeah, obviously the injuries will be the story of the season for the 49ers, but in an offense where next man up doesn't seem to matter, next running back does his thing. Yeah. Israel Abanaconda is now on this 49ers team. Technically 4th on the 4 deep. When Keyshawn Vaughn is in front of you, I'm not sure that matters. Give me the Abanaconda. I'm going to be looking for player props on this one because he is a hell of a player with a hell of a name, and this might be the game he pops for 125 yards and then never, ever plays an NFL game again.
Honestly, if I'm him and I pop for 125 yards, I'm getting a contract from somebody else.
I'm calling Dallas.
Yeah. Call Dallas. Yeah, go to Dallas, get that contract. You're like throwing money at people, fucking morons. And do exactly what everybody else does in recent years as a Dallas running back. Suck ass. And go ahead and get cut and keep any guaranteed money. Do it.
So we don't have to waste any time with Cowboys Panthers, but I did want to just say briefly, this Panthers team is full of vets on defense, and they're playing their asses off, and they are going to catch somebody eventually. If people keep sleeping on this Panthers team, eventually they're going to have a win that impacts the playoff. Their season's over. The team sucks. But if people keep sleeping on this Panthers team, they're going to get somebody.
I think that the Panthers win this game against the Cowboys. The Cowboys just don't seem like a team that still has it together. And I will gladly get out of there. And I will gladly take a Panthers team with Bryce Young that seems reinvigorated after that benching, and some defensive guys who are like, you know what? We want to keep our jobs. And at this point, we're playing with house money. So let's just go out there and play football. I think that really I like watching them play. Like, they're fun. I think they're giving teams a lot tighter than what we expected earlier on in the season, and what we saw earlier on in the season. I mean, winning, losing to in most of their last few games losses were by 1 score. Realistically, I mean, you got the Eagles by 1 score. You got 3 points to the Bucks, 3 points to the Chiefs, 3 points to the Giants. They beat the Giants. Sorry. They beat the Saints. They after that Broncos game, it feels like that they really turned it on and figured out, you know what? Let's just have fun for the rest of the season. If they're able to play spoiler, it could really only be for the Bucks or the Falcons, depending on how the last two games of the season go. But I would love to see them get a win here and really just invigorate their fan base to say, you know what? We felt like we had a guy in Bryce Young when we drafted him. We didn't see great things early on, but we're seeing what can happen when guys have the confidence that they need, and the defense plays the way that we need the defense to play. Unfortunately, no team's going to win if your offensive line sucks and if your defense sucks. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what skill positions you have, which is why they can get rid of all of their skill positions except for Chuba, and ended up skill position players. They got rid of their two best or wide receivers. They got rid of CMC in the last couple of years. Realistically, they got rid of some guys who went to other teams that were their top skill position guys, and still able to put up 250, 300 yards passing. And Chuba's doing his thing in the backfield. So I like the Panthers. I think they're a fun team to watch. Also, fuck the Cowboys.
I wanted the live stream of the guy that bet $3.1 million on the Eagles to beat the Panthers, because if you're from Kentucky, I don't care how rich you are, $3.1 million is a serious bet. And the Eagles looked like shit this entire game. So I wanted that live stream into that guy's living room, because he was breaking TVs, like yelling at his kid/cousin. He was upset. So I really wanted to hear more about that story, but all we get from the sports book is, somebody bet $3.1 million on the Eagles. That's boring. I need the sitcom. I need the rest of the information out the other side. I want to know what happened, because this guy might be in jail. He might have gone off the deep end, because the Eagles did not look convincing in this game. But watch out for the Panthers. Something else is coming.
You're not wrong. As a whole team, realistically, this wasn't the best performance by the Eagles this past week. But football is a 4-quarter game. You got to play the whole thing. And at the end of the day, we have watched so many games this season in particular, be decided by not just the last play of the game, but in the last 2-3 minutes, 4 minutes of the game. And even in a heavy amount of those being decided by the last play of the game. A lot of blocked field goals and punts and doinks and missed kicks at the end of games. And you have to play 4 quarters of football. So at the end of the day, Panthers look like a fun team to watch. If you're a betting man, I'm betting on the Eagles for the rest of the season. They seem like a team who, no matter what happens,
we'll get to the Eagles.
Yeah, if they seem like a team that they're going to grind it out for 4 quarters. That's the work ethic that I'm getting from.
Speaking of teams that suck for 3 quarters and somehow win in the 4th quarter, Chiefs Browns. The Chiefs have won every single way this year except playing 60 minutes of football. This team's driving me absolutely crazy. The Browns window is closed. They're going to be fun to watch for as long as Winston is playing, but I'm not even going to entertain it anymore, because whether the Browns win 58 minutes of this game convincingly or losing from the opening kickoff on, the Chiefs win this game, it doesn't even matter. I don't need to watch this to know exactly the outcome. So if you have anything on this game, feel free. I'm done talking about the Chiefs.
You are not wrong. I think Jameis Winston is super fun to watch. As a Raiders fan with a team that does not have a quarterback who could throw the ball down the field, I would love if we didn't draft a quarterback this year, if we didn't have the draft capital to do so. Because as much as I like some of the guys that are coming out this year, I like what Winston does. And now that he can see, holy hell, take a guy. He's a cheap guy. You can get him for cheap, and you can put the rest of that draft capital into getting a nice offensive line and, keeping some skill players happy, because realistically, they have a good tight end. They have, they've got some guys at receiver who aren't necessarily 1s and 2s in a lot of teams, but when they get the ball in their hands, they show up to play. So I think that if they can work on that offensive line, and if they can, and they get a guy like Jameis, to be able to throw the ball, sling the ball, and have confidence in him, I'd like to see him play somewhere else next year and really get a shot. I love watching him come from behind, and not have any expectations to just go out there and play football. but let him get a shot again. I think he deserves it. So yeah, Chiefs should win this game. I think it'd be cool if they lost this game to the Browns. It wouldn't matter; they'd still be the number one team in the AFC because the Bills lost and the strength of the rest of their schedule.
So funny though. It'd be so funny though.
Yeah. If they lost to the Browns, I mean, it doesn't. So this is one of those instances where like it doesn't mean anything, in my opinion, because the Bills lost. It doesn't mean anything if the Chiefs lose this game. And that's kind of the thing. It's like, no matter what happens, Patrick Mahomes, 2 for 2, 210 passing yards and a touchdown. Good enough. That's all you need.
Yep.
You don't need to throw for 350, 400 yards. You don't need to rush. You don't even need to rush for 100 yards. They're able to do it on minimal effort or and maximum execution and great defense. I don't give a shit what nobody says. Your defense keeps you winning these games.
Dolphins and Texans. The Dolphins, for all intents and purposes, are done. They're 2 games out of the wild card behind 4 teams. I don't think they're going to get there, but they did beat the Jets, and I can appreciate that. I'll save my Jets stat for when we talk about the Jets game next. But I mean, the Dolphins are getting it done. If you don't lose 3 games with a top 5 NFL quarterback, you're right there. I mean, you're fighting for the division. You have a wild card in hand, but I think it's just too little, too late. The games they lost with Tua out, they're not going to be able to overcome it. I got the Dolphins out of the playoffs.
So this one's tough for me because they got the Jets again, who they should beat. They got the Browns, who they should beat. And then they got the Texans and the Niners, who are teams with better defenses than the other two, but are very inconsistent on offense. So looking at that, giving them if you give them somehow, which would be crazy, if they ended up as a 9 or 10 win team, if they won out their 10-win team, I think that realistically, they might be able to sneak in, given that there's a few other teams that have mostly divisional games coming up at the end of the season, and so it could be more interesting than that. Like if I'm looking at it realistically, the Broncos are 8-5, but they got to play divisional games to close out the season, and the Chargers are in the same boat. The Ravens should win, and Houston's going to win that division. So I mean, there's a chance that they could sneak in for that 7th spot over the Broncos, but they have to win out. The Broncos have to lose, and depending on how the Chiefs end up with the end of the season, whether or not that game, whether or not those last couple games actually mean anything, because they got to play Kansas City at the end. So if that could be a spoiler right there. If the Chiefs don't need to win and the Broncos can pull that out, then that would knock the Dolphins out. But I'd like to see the Dolphins, honestly. I'd like to see them keep playing well, and keep playing good football. I think this game should be a shootout. I'd love to see it being a shootout. It really will depend on how well either one of the defensive lines can control the game, because the offensive lines for both of these teams are probably the part that I would say, at least for the Texans, is definitely their Achilles heel right now. So if the Dolphins can control the line and they have all the skill position players that they need to be able to score, then they win this game.
Can we play a quick game?
Sure.
If you could delete one division from the face of the earth, teams just poof disappear forever, would it be the AFC South or the NFC South?
Ooh.
I
would actually say NFC South. You were going to say AFC South?
AFC South for me.
And the reason why is because when I look at some of the storied franchises, I don't want to get rid of the Colts. These new Colts aren't really what I'm excited about. But if you get rid of the AFC South, you get rid of Peyton Manning's legacy right there, and that just hurts me as a true football fan watching that man.
Peyton Manning's legacy as the Denver Broncos Super Bowl winning champion. I'm looking at a Texans team that's not real. I'm looking at a Titans team that was essentially the Texans, that no one goes to their games. Looking at a Jaguars team that hasn't been good since Fred Taylor. I'm looking at a Colts team that is the second attempt because their team left to go to Baltimore. Baltimore. When the Colts left to go to Baltimore, Baltimore wasn't even a real city.
That was what, 80 years ago? Get out of here.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how many people lived in Baltimore when the Colts are like, yeah, we're going to Baltimore? Like, it wasn't even a real place. Camden Yards wasn't even built yet.
Look, I'll tell you right now, nothing excites me about the Saints. I mean, I love the Drew Brees as a quarterback, but let's be honest, they had one good year.
That division does have the better pirate-themed team.
I mean, they do, but I mean, if we really want to get into it, the Bucks mid as hell. The Saints mid as hell. The Falcons mid as hell. Like every one of these teams, I tell you what, if you swapped all of the teams' logos, you still wouldn't tell which team is which. And that's why I don't care. And
if you swapped all the teams from the NFC South and put them in the AFC South, the Panthers would just win the division for no reason. But they would. Like, tell me I'm wrong. Like, Panthers win the AFC South with all the same teams they play with in the NFC South. Just like a vibe thing.
Okay, but the Jacksonville Jaguars are about to move to Europe. So, I mean, who gives a fuck? You're right about that. I don't know, man.
They wear helmets every game. They're undefeated.
Interesting.
They lost wearing them. I understand that, but it's a vibe thing. If that's your uniform, you just feel better. Look good, feel good, play good.
I mean, all I'm saying is right now there are two teams in the AFC South that are that have playoff caliber, that can be in the playoff. The other two teams are eliminated. However, the NFC South, somehow the Panthers are still in the hunt. I'm not going to accept that.
To the skill talent
I can't do it. I'm sorry, I can't do it. They're so mid. They're so mediocre as a division right now that the team is 3-10 still has a chance to make the playoffs. Crazy to me. Crazy to me.
Well, I brought up uniforms, so let's move on to the next matchup. With two teams with some of the worst uniforms in the NFL, the Jets and the Jaguars.
The all-white Jags uni is solid.
And the all-black Jets uni is solid. But both teams insist on wearing their shitty uniform combinations when people have to watch them on TV. Have some respect for your fans. Cut Aaron Rodgers, cut Trevor Lawrence, and stop wearing your ugly-ass uniforms.
There's no way they can cut Trevor Lawrence because they just paid him so much fucking money.
Yeah, don't cut him from the roster. Like, get after him with an X-Acto knife. Like, the dude is bad. The dude is bad. So here's a question. Who is the worst quarterback on either of these two rosters? Who's the worst quarterback in this game? Not necessarily playing, because bubble wrap Trevor Lawrence is not going to play. But, like, if you look at the Jets and the Jaguars, who is the worst quarterback on these rosters? Because it's one of the starters, in my opinion. I don't know which one.
Well, I mean, Mac Jones is going to start this week.
But who would you rather have, say, next 5 years, guaranteed to be your starter no matter what? Lock it in. Is it Aaron Rodgers or is it Mac Jones?
That's not fair. And the reason why it's not fair is because, number one, Aaron Rodgers is a fucking asshole. And I wouldn't let him near my organization with a fucking 20-foot pole. All right. All he's going to do is walk in there. All he's going to do is walk into your organization. He's gonna talk. He's gonna talk shit. He's gonna go into the dark, do a bunch of drugs, come back out, talk more shit, and then be terrible or mediocre at best. At best, he can be mediocre, and then he's gonna complain the whole time about how everyone else sucks. Now, here's my thought. Right? Here's my question for you.
We went from 6 live viewers to 3 live viewers on the Aaron Rodgers thing.
They're probably Jets fans. That's why. All right. Now, here's my thing. Right? What if the Jets had gotten Russ instead of Rodgers?
Oh, man.
Or Fields instead of Rodgers. Give me either one of those two guys. I would fucking rather have than Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is not a leader. Aaron Rodgers is a douchebag. Absolute douchebag. Just like Brett Favre was a fucking douchebag. So I'm just not excited for Jordan Love to become a douchebag.
It's coming, though. But you know what? He's going to have the Jaguars at like 13 wins in 2027.
Oh, good. Well, you know what? The Jags deserve it, but unfortunately, they'll be the Binghamton Jaguars. They're going to be the London Jags,
Southampton Jaguars.
the Essex Jogs.
All right, well, that's way too much Jets talk.
That was
this game super interesting to me. Commanders Saints. So the Saints are done. The Saints are cooked. Injury bug, real bad. Them and the Niners could have like an injury bug bowl, and I'm not sure they'd finish the game because there wouldn't be enough players left over.
53-man roster. We got 12 guys. Is that cool? I mean, none of them are Travis Hunter, but it's fine. We'll just figure out ways to have him play offense and defense.
But this is a huge game for the Commanders.
Oh, yeah.
And the Saints, for all of their flaws, have looked atrocious on defense. So this is a potential, I don't want to say get right necessarily because the Commanders have been playing well. But this is a game where if the Commanders can win convincingly, come out of the bye and have everyone feeling right, looking right, this is a tone-setting game the rest of the way. There's no weather. You show up, you play this game in the Dome, you win, you go home, you deal with your division schedule, and you're probably a playoff team. So my question for you, Sean, is what are the chances that a quarterback, albeit a really good one, but still a rookie, comes into the Dome and makes a mistake that costs the Commanders this game and a shot at the division?
I mean, that's a tough one only because, like, the Saints defense, you are absolutely correct, has not played well. And they would really have to put a lot of pressure on Jaden Daniels, but he just doesn't seem like he's really affected by it in that way. He just seems like he's got a very cool, calm demeanor. And the Saints are also going to have to watch out for Brian Robinson because he is not playing games either. Their run game for the Commanders is a very, very good rushing offense right now. So, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from them. I think that realistically, Jaden Daniels is a guy who doesn't seem like making mistakes is something that he's going to do, and especially when there's no weather. You're not playing against a strong team. You're not playing against a strong team in the Saints. You're not playing against a premier defensive team, and you're playing against an injury-prone offense. So I feel like it's just going to be they're going to pick them apart. Realistically, I mean, you're playing away, so that's always a factor dealing with the away crowd. But at the time of possession is going to be crazy. I feel like realistically, the Saints are going to think it'll be minus 5 minutes time possession minimum, and so that's really going to be the deciding factor. Is realistically how much time did the Saints defense end up on the field? Because they're just going to chip away at them. I mean, they can also score pretty damn quickly too, the Commanders. So, and without their dynamic Taysom Hill, it doesn't seem like the Saints are going to really be doing anything.
Please don't. I was nice to your team. Please, let's not do this crap.
Hey, I picked them up one time in fantasy, and that man scored like three touchdowns. Or something.
That's what he does. If you're a Saints fan, and you like Taysom Hill, at me on Twitter at King of Lakemore. I want to talk about who hurt you because no, it's not football and it's awful. Sean, Ravens, Giants. I don't want to waste a whole lot of time on this. Give me one sentence about this game.
Ravens, Giants. Fact is, Ravens defense right now, too inconsistent, not going to win you playoff games. Giants are in a total rebuild. They got to figure out a lot of things. The one thing that they think that they could be okay with is their receiver core. I think Neighbors is solid. And I think that you can put at least one other guy in that receiver core, and that could get you going. But this doesn't matter because you got no quarterback. It doesn't matter because you need offensive line help. It doesn't matter because you got So they got a lot of work to do on offense.
All right, I'm going to pretend those were semicolons, and that was all one big sentence. Bengals Titans. Bengals Titans. Will Levis is bad. I thought that the reason Will Levis was bad was because he was dating Queen Victoria of Bachelor fame. If you don't play Fantasy Bachelor on the Rose League app, look into that. I'll drop the link in the bio, but the Rose League on app stores everywhere. I thought the reason he sucked was because of his girlfriend, but it turns out he just sucks.
That's all that mayo.
Is it the mayonnaise?
It's definitely the mayonnaise.
Do you think people that put mayonnaise in their coffee are objectively worse quarterbacks than people who do not put mayonnaise in their coffee?
I think that people who put mayonnaise in their coffee are objectively worse people than people who do not put mayonnaise in their coffee. I think that there are certain decisions that you make in life that really show who you are as a person. The same people who, it's not the same argument as pineapple on pizza. That's subjective, that we're talking about like truly evil human beings. People who sold their souls to Satan, and for whatever reason, like there's nothing in mayonnaise that should go in fucking coffee.
How
I'm
much money,
sorry.
Sean? How much money? How big does a contract have to be for every single time you drink a cup of coffee in the presence of another human being? You have to mix mayonnaise into it. How much money?
Oh, I'll do it for $1 million.
$1 million.
But that's because
I guarantee he made more than $1 million.
yeah, he sure did. But you know why, right? Because because Tennessee is middle America, technically. It's the South, but it's still in the middle. And
Okay,
he's in
okay.
a team.
You're making a
And
socioeconomical
oh
argument.
no, well no, I'm just saying it's the appeal of a man who takes a really really fucking nasty thing and puts it in something that most people drink. Is like, okay, I guess he's just himself. He's
Wait.
unique.
Are you anti-mayonnaise?
I am fine with mayonnaise as a condiment. I am
It's
not fine
just
with
mayonnaise
mayonnaise as
in
a
coffee.
beverage, as a beverage additive.
Okay, I didn't want us to get blocked from having the Duke's Mayo Bowl as a sponsor. I'm making sure that we don't have any problems before I sign
I
this deal.
love mayonnaise on a sandwich, but I'm
Hey,
not
Duke's
putting it in my
Mayonnaise, if you
goddamn
sponsor
drinks.
us, I will do anything, literally anything you want me to do with mayonnaise for the next 10 years. Sponsor the show.
You got to cover yourself in mayonnaise every time you stream.
I
Full
don't
body.
care. Yeah,
Full
if
body.
if Duke's Mayo wants to pay me and sponsor the show, I will go full body mayonnaise every single stream. I do not care.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
If we want this to take off, we gotta draw the line somewhere. It's not gonna be.
Okay. What do I got to do that's gross?
There's
I'll
a
eat
couple
a lot of
things
ramen.
I'll do. That's not one of them. All right, Bengals. I'm gonna let you give Joe Burrow your hat tip here before we move on from this awful game.
Joe Burrow. Sir, I gave you a lot of shit earlier in this season because I said that, if as the quarterback of the team, you're the leader, doesn't matter if you throw for 300 yards if your team loses. But watching somebody throw for 300, 350, 400 yards on any week in and week out and score the touchdown that you need and which should be a chance to win these games and then to lose them because your defense literally can't hold your defense can't hold anything. Your defense can't stop a prepubescent child, a toddler from fucking like it's mind-boggling how bad their defense is. I think that he's the best offensive player with the worst defensive team that I have ever seen in football. And that's based off the fact that they've lost so many games after putting up 30 fucking points. It's crazy how much that is. Like you take those games and you flip them, the defense gives up one less score. They're a playoff caliber. They're a playoff team. No argument. So I think that the man deserves a lot more accolades. But they should beat the crap out of the Titans here.
Sean, the Cardinals were on a run. They beat the Chargers. They beat the Dolphins. They beat the Bears. They beat the Jets. Do you know what happened between the Jets game and the Seahawks game?
I can only imagine, but you're going to tell me.
The Season 1 update for Warzone came out, which introduced ranked play for Call of Duty Warzone. That is a fact. Since then, the Cardinals have lost to the Seahawks, lost to the Vikings, lost to the Seahawks. I'm not saying the two things are related, but I am saying that the quarterback has a clause in his contract that requires him to not stream, but study plays as a 28-year-old NFL quarterback for a reason. And I'm not saying that Kyler Murray has not been upholding his contract. But the
what you
Cardinals
are
are
saying is that he has been winning. Yeah, they
all
are.
I'm saying is that he seems less focused.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's just really weird coincidence. If Kyler Murray was some kind of like gamer and had like a Call of Duty streaming channel on the Twitch, I would be concerned that these things were related. But thankfully, those things aren't true. Surely the quarterback of a professional football team has a little more focus and determination than that. So I'm glad that it's not a problem because the calendar just lines up in such a weird way.
The worst part is that we talked about it. We called this. We said it was going to happen, and I didn't want to believe it because as someone who lives, in the state, in the city where the Cardinals play, it is great to hear the fans and be in the energy when the team is doing well and be excited about it and want to go to games and all those things. But for it to literally just be, oh shit, a video game coming up this week. Well, I guess that's my football team's cooked. Like for that to be the narrative, and if for it to actually happen, and on top of that, he's got Call of Duty commercials happening during the football season. Like, I'm sorry. They should win this game. They are a significantly better team, I think, than the Patriots. And they have more weapons, and he should be able to win this game. He should be able to win this game, but honestly, I don't see them necessarily beating the Panthers. I think the Panthers would be the fun team to close out. I don't see them beating the Rams. And if you're going to close out the season against the Niners and it actually means something, I don't see them beating the Niners. So for you to go 5-1, only losing to the Packers, and then go 0-3 and close the season out with a losing record, like a really, really tailspin spiral. Like, I'm sorry, but if you're any organization, you got to really look and say, what is this guy? What are we doing here? We're paying this guy a lot of money, and he plays decently for half the season, and then that's it.
You ready
if he's
for
not
this?
injured, go for it.
Give me Drake May with more passing yards. Give me Drake May within 10 rushing yards. And give me the Cardinals to go 0-4 to end the season. The Cardinals season is over. It is Kyler Murray's fault, and it starts this weekend against the Patriots.
Well, no, I'm going 0-7. You can't go. They already lost 3 in a row. This is 0-7 to close out the season. And
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, and you are. I mean, they are playing here, so that's the only caveat is that you get the homer crowd. You don't deal with the elements.
That's an advantage for Drake May, not to have to deal with the snow.
I mean, but neither one of them are going to be good in the snow. The difference.
Well, neither one of them are going to be good inside. Let me be clear. Like, this is not going to be a game worth watching in a very thin afternoon slate.
I'm looking for at least one. I would love to see a pick six. I can probably see one per team. Or a fumble return for a touchdown or something like that. I just see the defenses eating it up. Kyler unfocused, and the Patriots just being not a very good Patriots team. I think the defense is just enjoying themselves this game. But the Cardinals should win it. You take the Pats, and we'll see what happens.
All right, give me 10 seconds on why Bo Nix is the offensive rookie of the year.
Simple. He finds ways to win. He scores the ball well. He plays full football as a quarterback. So he's not just sitting in the pocket. He's moving around. He's getting the ball where he needs to. He's getting the ball to his short passes. He's getting the ball downfield when he needs to. He's making these receivers look a lot better than we're used to them looking. They're playing running back by committee right now, and they're still winning football games. And so I think that's my argument for him. Again, my argument is between him and Jaden Daniels as my offensive rookie of the year. And I think realistically, whichever one of these teams wins out, unless you have a crazy performance, specifically in a divisional game. Because I think if either one of these, like watching the divisional games for the rest of the season, if either one of these teams really, really show out, that'll be the deciding factor, I think, for offensive rookie of the year. But whichever one of these two guys ends up winning out, having the better record should be offensive rookie of the year.
I got two things. The first, Bo Nix is so good, he's making Jerry Jeudy look good.
But
yeah, exactly. That's the response I wanted from you. He is so good that Jerry Jeudy left and still looks good. Jerry Judy's not an NFL wide receiver. The fact that he's good with the Browns, that's because of Bo Nix. Bo Nix, I'm sure he went and he's like, Jerry doesn't fit in here. Let's get Jerry out of here. And they moved him, and now everybody wins. Thank you, Bo Nix, for promoting Jerry Judy's career. And the second thing, I told my mama today, Bo Nix is the second coming of Tim Tebow, who was the second coming of John Elway. So the Broncos not only going to secure a wild card, but the Broncos will be the team to bounce the Chiefs from the playoffs. And offensive rookie of the year, Bo Nix, will be responsible for ending the dynasty.
Wow. So that is a lot to take in. And the only reason why I'm going to say that is because we're looking at the season closing out against the Broncos. So what you're saying is that he's gonna close out the season, or he's gonna win that game to close out the season, and that's going to be his offensive rookie of the year award.
Because the Chiefs magic. It's gonna be Broncos Chiefs in the divisional round.
Oh, okay. So here's my thing though, right? So you got to look at the Chiefs season closes out with Cleveland, Houston, and then Pittsburgh and Denver. Now, realistically, undefeated Chiefs. Okay, so they close out the season 16-1. But you think that on the road, in the playoff game, that the Broncos are going to beat the Chiefs? I don't see that happening.
100%.
Nope. No way in hell.
Bo Nix is going to have 400 all-purpose yards, 4 touchdowns.
He will do no such thing because he has to play against the Chiefs defense, not Patrick Mahomes. Bo Nix is not playing against Patrick Mahomes. Bo Nix is playing against the Chiefs defense. And if you think the Chiefs defense is going to give up 400 passing yards to the Broncos,
no problem.
Not happening. Not happening. I am sorry, but that Tim Tebow jump pass ain't happening again. That shit ain't happening again. All right, that is not going to happen again. The Chiefs are way too well coached for that to happen. Not happening. Sorry, the Broncos ain't making it out of the first round of the playoffs if they get it. If they get in, they're not making it out of the first round.
You're a fun sucker. Bills Lions. This is my Super Bowl preview. Bills Lions right here. This is the best team in the AFC, the best team in the NFC. We already talked about the MVP stuff, so I don't really have anything else on this game. This is my game of the week. This is the one I want to watch. Sean, what do you got on this one?
I would agree with you as far as just like really seeing what the Super Bowl should look like. I agree. I think the Bills and Lions is what the Super Bowl should look like. Both of these teams have showed all season that they are top tier teams, that their offenses are incredible. The Bills have had, not as many good defensive performances as the Lions have. But I think that this game right here, and playing outside and not in the elements again, is definitely going to be to Josh Allen's benefit. But I think this is going to be a fun game to watch. I think the Bills need this as a bounce back game, and I think that if the Lions end up losing this game, the Eagles will end up being the number 1 seed in the NFC.
I'll go one further. I think if the Lions lose this game, they don't win their division.
Ooh.
This is a must-win for the Lions.
You don't think that they edge out Minnesota?
No, the Vikings look fantastic. We'll talk about them in a minute. But yeah, I think this is a must-win for the Lions. But I think they win it. I don't think it's an issue.
I think that if the Lions win this game, then Josh Allen's cooked for his MVP. It's gone. You can't lose 2 games in a row to the 2 best teams in the NFL and say that I am the best player in the NFL. You can't do it.
But what if he scores 6 touchdowns in a loss again?
Then he's Joe Burrow. Who gives a fuck? I'm done. Look, not only do you have to score, but you need to score in decisive moments to be able to propel your team forward to wins. If you put up 350 yards and 7 then he's the only one on the team who really wants to win. But if you lose, you lose. I'm sorry, but you cannot tell me that a 4-loss Bills team with Josh Allen doing whatever he needs to do. You're not wrong. He's playing against the best teams in the league to do this, and he's losing those games. You can't tell me that a 4-loss Bills team against a 2-loss Eagles team and Josh Allen wins MVP. Not happening. You can't tell me that a 4-loss Bills teams or versus a 1-loss Lions team, and Jared Goff's also not playing bad football. You can't tell me that I'm sorry, I don't give a shit. You can't lose it, because if that's the case, then Lamar Jackson is still up in the conversation for MVP. And his team's all got 5 losses. Oh, 4 losses for Josh Allen, 5 for Lamar Jackson.
For some people, he is. Yeah. All right. So let's skip over this Bucks Chargers game no one cares about. Let's talk about Steelers Eagles, because I think there's a real chance the Eagles lose this week, and then they have a Commanders game next week. So there is a chance the Eagles could be there.
You're not wrong. There is a chance that the Eagles lose this game, but here's the reason why I don't see the Eagles losing that game, because Pittsburgh's not going to have Kenny Pickens, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's going to be out this game. That's a big factor for them. He is their guy. So realistically, what do? Their Eagles are going to cue it on that secondary. Quinyon Mitchell, by the way, is my defensive rookie of the year. He is killing it right now. And Cooper DeJean is also doing his damn thing. Those guys in the Eagles secondary are really, really helping maintain that defense, which already has a crazy rotation in the defensive line and some guys at linebacker that can really just kind of sub in, and you really don't know which guy it is because they're all doing the same thing. But I think that if without him, this offense is not nearly as potent. And I don't think that they're going to be able to score enough points to keep up with the Eagles. I think that the Steelers' defensive line and the Eagles' offensive line are a wash at this point. You really would have to have a crazy game. Somebody have to get injured on that O-line for him to just pick them apart. But I see realistically, they're just going to move away from him. They're going to move their offensive line away from him, and they'll just double team him and push up right up against where he's at, they're going to do whatever they need to do to keep him away from the whoever's got the ball handler or the ball carrier. On the opposite side, the Eagles' defensive line is good enough to keep Russ contained, and I think that realistically, without Pickens, it's just not the same game for Pittsburgh. So I take the Eagles in this game.
So let me ask you this.
Shoot.
Steelers, over or under 145 passing yards?
I say over 145, but not by very much.
Over or under 120 rushing yards?
Under.
Russell Wilson, over or under 17 rushing yards?
Over, only because I can see him scrambling a couple of times and if he gets 3 6-yard rushes, that's it. And because sacks go against passing yards.
Eagles, over or under 27 points?
I can take the Eagles under 27 points.
Okay. So those criteria I just gave you would be a Steelers win. That's what the Steelers did. The Browns is scoring 27 points.
That's fair. However,
I think
the Eagles without Pickens. We're talking about without Pickens.
Pickens didn't play last week.
That's fair. That's fair. But they didn't play against the Eagles last week.
Fair. They played against the Browns. That's very fair. But if they can hit those marks, I think this Steelers team can keep pace with the Eagles. Now, if Saquon goes off, if you give Saquon 11 carries, he's not going to have 48 yards like bum-ass Nick Chubb did. That's a fact.
No. And that's the thing, too, is any drive, Saquon can suddenly pop off for 20, 25-yard rushes. Yeah. Any drive.
And I think that speaks to what Saquon means to this team, but I think that if the Eagles lose another game all year, it's this week. And if we allow that the Eagles lose, I think it's by 2 scores. I don't think this is a close Eagles loss.
So the Eagles lose at home in Philly by 2 scores.
I think the Eagles either control this game in a meaningful way, or they are dominated in the trenches and lose by 2 scores. I don't think this is a field goal game at the end. I don't think this is a fluke pass. I think the Eagles either come out and play their brand of football and win this game and take control of the NFC, or the Steelers win in a meaningful way. And it is trouble for the Eagles because they have to go play the Commanders the next week.
Interesting. I, on the other hand, think that this game will be significantly tighter than that. I think it'll probably be closer to how the Panthers game shaped out, only because I expect that Pittsburgh is going to end up scoring field goals. I just see Pittsburgh scoring field goals against this Philadelphia team. They can give up some scores, but overall, I feel like this Pittsburgh team their offense for me isn't the same, especially playing on the road in Philadelphia, which is not an easy place to play.
Ew.
It's
No,
not.
I just
It's
saw
not an
it
easy
as
place
you
to
were
play.
talking.
It's
This
not
is
an
going to
easy
be like
place
an
to play.
18 to 15 game. Like
And that's
6
exactly
field
what I'm
goals for this.
thinking, dude.
I saw it as you were
That's
talking
why-
about it. It's like
yeah.
Eagles missed a 2-point conversion, and it's like,
That's what I'm thinking this game's going to be. It's going to be more like one of those games where one team maybe scores 20 and the other team only scores somewhere in the mid-teens. That's it.
Gross.
That's what I'm seeing this game being. And that is if Saquon doesn't break off for a huge run. Because realistically, and again, any given time, he could break off for a huge run. So I think that the Eagles also, their play action is going to be significantly better than Pittsburgh's. And so I see that their team has just more elements to be able to score and get the ball away from TJ Watt, who's gonna make the most impact on that defense. So, I mean, that's my opinion.
Sunday night football, Packers, Seahawks. I'm so over this. The Packers are the third best team in their division. They are significantly better than the Bears. They can't sniff the Vikings jockstrap. This Packers team is not in the conversation for the division. Somehow they're still in the conversation for a wild card. This feels like they beat the Seahawks. I would pick the Seahawks here. The Seahawks are my official pick. They're in the driver's seat. If the Seahawks just keep winning, they win their division. But this just smells like the Packers win by like 3 on like a late touchdown score and just win it going away. But I'm kind of over the Packers.
I agree with you that the Packers aren't the top 2 in their division, and which means their division is incredible right now. At least those top teams. Bears are, but they're in the rebuild year anyway, so we were expecting that. We realistically were.
The Vikings are in a rebuild year.
The Vikings were in a rebuild year, but they clearly don't seem to be agreeing with anybody else about the rebuild year. They seem to be doing whatever the hell they want and winning these games. And I think that really is a testament to their defense getting healthy this year as well. But I will say that I think the Packers are significantly better than, I think the Packers are a significantly better team than the Bears, obviously. And I agree with you about them not being to the top tier of those other 2 teams in the division. But I think that they're a better team than the Seahawks. I think that they should beat the Seahawks in this week. And the biggest thing for me is Sharp last week had a monster game at 130 yards or something like that. And that propelled the Seahawks in a win. He's not doing that every week. On the other side of the ball, though, Josh Jacobs is top 5 in rushing. Josh Jacobs is doing everything he needs to do to keep this Packers team relevant. And when Josh Jacobs is and when their run offense is doing really well, and that's been the case realistically for the Packers before Jordan Love was there. But when their rush offense is good, those receivers can get open. And you can get the ball to those guys. And so I think the better the rush offense ends up being and the better their play is, the better Jordan Love looks and the better that team plays. And I think that really is going to be my deciding factor. Sharp is going to have to really him and Kenneth Walker are going to have to do something to really keep this offense in the game, because if not, the Packers are just going to control the clock. I mean, they lost the Lions by 3. They're going to control the clock in this game, and they're going to end up squeaking out a win.
Walker, calling it now. He's questioning. He's not going to play.
Oh,
I have the charred bonnet with more rushing yards than Josh Jacobs.
Oh, I take that bet any day.
Let's put it down. What are we betting?
We'll take that bet. It's a shot.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Sean, we are gifted this week, as many weeks, with not 1, but 2 shitty Monday Night Football games. that we have to watch because the powers that be put nothing better on TV.
Well, both games
So
matter. Both games matter.
the first,
They
do
do.
they? Do they matter
Well,
to
if
who?
for the Vikings to keep pace, it's a divisional game. The Bears can squeak out a win here. You know,
The
I'm not going to say that
Bears,
they will, but they
at
can
one
squeak
point
one
on
out.
Sunday, the Bears were down yardage. 310 yards to 2. The Bears are an afterthought. The Bears are a mistake. Because we have Bear fan friends, I have tried to be nice this year. I've tried to talk about the upside. I try to talk about the growth and the positives. This Bears team is rotten from that old hag's cold heart all the way to the practice squad players. Not a single person attached to this organization should have a job next year, from scouts to concession stand people. No one. Everyone should lose their job. Scrap this team. Burn the record books. Throw it away. Be the Chicago Great Lakers. New team. Start over. This Bears team is so bad, it makes me sick to tell people I'm from Chicago, because I know the next question is going to be, oh, how about them Bears? How about them fucking Bears? This team is an embarrassment to themselves, to an entire city, probably to every Polish American living here in the States. This is awful. Blow it up. Start over. Vikings win by 4 somehow. But this Bears team is trash, and they should all feel horrifically bad about themselves.
I think realistically, 7 losses in a row. The Bears are obviously not a great team. They got rid of the coach, you know, and losing this week. I mean, what did you expect? Like they're playing against they got a brand new head coach, and there wasn't like they were winning before that. You know, they got close to winning. They got close to beating the Vikings. And not the Vikings, the Lions. Sorry. And so, and they got close to beating the Vikings the week before that. They got close to beating the Packers the week before that. So realistically, I think that you've got 1, 2, 3 losses in a row to tough teams, divisional teams, and then you fire your head coach and you end up with you end up getting blown out. Now they got 1, 2, 3 of their next 4 games are against divisional teams, and the Seahawks is the one outlier. And they're not going to be an easy team for the Bears to beat at all. But I think if they have a chance to win any of these games, I think this one is probably the one that they're going to have the best chance of winning. There's no way I could see them beating the Lions. I just can't see it happening, especially going into the last couple weeks of the season. Seattle at that point, maybe they're still in the hunt, so they're going to be playing like they're in the hunt. And the Packers want that last spot in the playoffs, so they're definitely going to be playing hard. So this is really their last chance to kind of make any noise. I think. And I think that they could actually do something, I think that they could win this game. I don't see that they will, but because I think the Vikings are going to try to do the exact same thing that the Niners did defensively. They're going to shut them down as much as they can. But you never really know in some divisional games. They played tough divisional games before this. Each one of the divisional games was divided by 1 score. And so it's not like they don't know how to play against their divisional opponents. I think they could squeak one out here. And if they do that, then the Lions are going to win. They're going to win a division.
If they lose this on a missed field goal, I want the college football narrative. I want you to leave the kicker on the tarmac at the airport. Find a way home because you don't work for us anymore. And I'd leave the special teams coach there too. It's unacceptable. This is the NFL. This is elite level of this sport. Win a fucking game.
Any given Sunday, baby. Any given Sunday.
But as I said, we are blessed with 2 Monday Night Football games. Sean, the Falcons and the Raiders. This is your team. I'll let you go. But what I want to see here, I want to see the Raiders play Wildcat. And I want to see the Falcons play Penix. Because there's not a single quarterback on this Raiders team that will be a quarterback for the Raiders next year. And Penix will be the Falcons quarterback next year. So I want to look forward to the future. I want to see what Penix is, what he can do. And, I want to just look forward to what the Raiders are going to look like when they fuck up their first round pick and pick a quarterback who also sucks.
Look, this could very well be a scouting mission for the Raiders. I don't know if you know that,
Oh,
right?
God.
I
Oh,
mean,
God.
I was hoping we would pick up Penix to begin with. I don't necessarily want Kirk Cousins, but I mean, realistically, I'd take anybody right now at quarterback over the two guys that I got. Just no faith and no confidence in them, and they got no faith and confidence in themselves. Yeah, if the Raiders have a chance of winning any game, it's this game. Realistically, they can win. They can win against the Jet. They should beat the Jaguars. They should beat New Orleans. No, they shouldn't. I mean, they're both terrible teams, and I expect that they're going to lose to the Chargers to close out the season. But if they can win 2 out of the last 4, let's go, baby. We're back. The boys are back.
All it does is hurt you. All it does is hurt you.
It does.
Like some fan bases look forward to the Super Bowl. Are you looking forward to seeing the combine so you can find out who the fastest quarterback is, so you know who you're overdrafting in the first round?
Oh my God, I hate you so much, Rick. You're the worst. No, and the reason why is because they're gonna do exactly the fuck that, and I don't want to see that. You know what I want? I want John Gruden in my front office. I want Tom Brady and John Gruden looking at quarterbacks for me. That's what I want. It's not going to happen because Gruden's got history. He's been outed. He's been ousted twice. Third time's a charm, though. I'm telling you, third time's a charm. Bring Gruden back as a consultant. Let him and Brady pick the players for the fucking team. I don't even need a front office. Let them.
He's got that Barstool money now. He's not coming back to the Raiders.
That's what they said about him commentating, and he came back to the Raiders.
That's fair.
So he was doing commercials for Corona. And then he came back to the Raiders, and then he did well with the Raiders, and then he left again for shit that happened from before. But I don't want to talk about that. What I want to talk about is the fact that the Raiders can win games. They can't. I don't think they can. Nah, go ahead. Just let the season be trash. Go ahead and beat the Jaguars because they deserve to get that ass beat. But go ahead, lose the rest of the games, and then get that draft pick, and let's work on that offensive line.
Oh, if you beat the Jaguars, you could trade for Trevor Lawrence, and they could pick their new.
No, I don't want Trevor Lawrence. That contract is ridiculous. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of money. All right, I want a quarterback that's going to has the best upside. Give me Jameis Winston. I like Jameis Winston. I like his upside, and I think that if you give him a good offensive line and just let him be in a place where he can be happy and flourish, I think that'll go a long way. I think that also his tutelage under Tom Brady, who again is not allowed to do certain football operation stuff, but still understanding, he can help pick coaches and shit like that to be able to get these guys where they need to be. He can give, I think that's what I want. If the Raiders are going to have Tom Brady, be fucking useful, dude. Be useful. Don't just put money in. Don't just be money for the organization. Be somebody who actually affects change. So that's what I want.
I think it's going to be yours.
If it's yours, I'll take it.
I think the fit is there. I think he's going to have that chip on his shoulder because he's not going to play the playoff game, and I think that's just going to play into that Raiders attitude. I think you could do a lot worse than Quinn Ewers.
I agree with you. There are 3 guys much worse than Quinn Ewers on the team right now. I would have taken him before this fucking college season even started. He could have skipped that last year. Sign him as a free agent. I don't care. Still would have done better.
Yeah. It's going to be good stuff. Hey, it's all in fun. It's rough. It's been a rough season for you as a Raiders fan, but
every season's a rough season. But it could be worse. I could be a Giants fan.
You won a Super Bowl
or a Jets fan.
22 years ago, or
we went a long time ago. We didn't win. We didn't win in the 2000s. We didn't win. We lost to Tampa Bay. John Gruden.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was Yelling and Screaming NFL Week 15. We would like to thank you for being with us. Bills Lions, Sean. Bills Lions.
I'm going to go ahead and say Bills Lions. I would have said Steelers Eagles, but I think the Bills Lions realistically is the Super Bowl matchup I want to see. 100%.
Well, you know what? I can guarantee you that both of those games will be chain builders or better on our app, Chainlink. If you haven't played, is the best way to pick your sports winners. It's free. We're not trying to get in your bank account like the way these big boys do. We just want you to have fun picking sports. Bills Lions game of the week. Steelers Eagles going to be a chain builder. So hop on there, check that out.
Chainlink.st.
Get it. If you haven't seen our show Dead Ball Dancing and you like college basketball, that is airing live on the channel on Mondays. Give that a look. And as I alluded to earlier, we are getting dangerously close to Fantasy Bachelor season. But before that happens, we got at least 3 more episodes of Yelling and Screaming. I can almost guarantee we'll carry this off into the playoffs. Then maybe a little cold stove action for some free agency going on before the draft as well.
Hell yeah. I like that.
Hey, I am King of Lakemore everywhere you can find me on socials.
At KS Flash. Boom. Right here.
Thanks for joining us, guys. We love doing this. Drop in the comments you got any ideas. We got to do some segments, I think, so we'll get on that here soon.
I think we'll have a little more time for segments. In playoffs, we'll definitely be able to get some fun things going. When we don't have to go through a full slate of games, we'll be able to have some fun things for you guys.
No more bye weeks. We're gonna be packed till week 18.
Woo! Oh yeah, but I'm ready though. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm fired up. It's going to be tight down the line here, so I'm excited for all the permutations. I like to get in the playoff machine and kind of
the playoff.
How can the Saints win the division? It's like, there used to be 9 ties. Perfect.
64 teams have to lose. Someone's got to do a jutsu in the background. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, it comes down to a coin toss. They lose the coin toss.
It's whose mom was born first.
That'd be an amazing tiebreaker.
No, it's gonna. We got to go with the Cards Against Humanity. It's whoever took a poop blast. That's it. That's it. You got to decide.
Saints lose. Too much jambalaya.
Oh, I don't know, man. There's some brisket out there that is gonna get some tummy, and then that Wisconsin cheese.
Oh no, Packers. No. All right. This was Yelling and Screaming. Thanks for joining us. We will see you guys next.